Hi, how are you today?
I'm fine.
Good. Would you start by telling me your name?
I'm Andrew.
How old are you, Andrew?
I'm 22.
Um, do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have a brother and a sister.
Are they older or younger than you?
I'm the oldest.
Me too. I have two little brothers. Did you grow up in this area, like the St. Louis area?
Yep. I grew up in St. Louis.
Are your parents married?
No,
So did you just grow up like with your mom or with
I grew up with my mom and two stepdads.
what do you consider, like what race do you identify with?
I'm mixed, so probably black.
What social class did you grow up in, like?
Probably low working class.
Okay, so those are the basic questions, and now I'm gonna ask you my questions. Have you ever had somebody treat you like your feelings weren't important because you're a male?
Yep.
Do you want to elaborate? Does that happen often?
Very often. Often enough to take notice of it.
Like, especially growing up?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like the whole men don't cry type thing?
Yeah, but I think it's more of a thing that is needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So basically the purpose of this interview is to teach me differences like that I didn't even notice. Like I didn't ever think I was privileged, like white privilege. I didn't think that existed until I took this class, and there's things I didn't think of, like differences in males and females and in race. So that's the purpose, just to learn about other people's viewpoints, so hopefully we can make the world better. What advantages do you think you have because you're a male?
I guess I can say my opinion. I guess I can't really name anything.
Okay, that's fine. Some people think there are a lot of advantages, some don't. Do you think you've ever gotten a position like at work because you were male over another female?
Never.
Do you think you've ever not gotten a promotion because of your race?
No, I've worked in predominantly black businesses and predominantly black places.
Do you ever feel out of place because of either your sex or your race?
Sometimes my race, but that's when I'm in very white neighborhoods.
Gotcha.
Not rich, I wouldn't say, but like.
Right, just like where you're the minority.
Yeah, when I'm the extreme minority.
Would you say that when you're in that situation, like it's just an awkward feeling you have, or is it like how other people treat you?
It's just an awkward feeling.
I can totally understand that. I'm not from personal experience, but I could understand why that would feel awkward. Totally. Have you ever been like racially profiled at a store, like someone thought you were gonna steal or something just because of your race?
Probably once, but that was by another black person. So I don't know.
I can't really give a huge opinion, but I do believe even people of the same race racially profile.
Yeah,
I've heard it a lot. So I think it still counts, definitely. Have you ever had racial profiling from law enforcement?
No.
That's good.
I don't really get myself into situations where I have to interact with police officers. And when I do, I tend to try my best to show the utmost respect.
Right. I can identify with that, not because of my race, but because of I have 4 felonies. So when the police pull me over, I feel like they automatically assume I'm doing something wrong, even though my felonies are all 7 years old. So I understand what you mean by respect, because they can just literally make your day. Like, they do have power over
yeah,
you.
definitely.
So I am always like, yes sir, instead of giving them any, I play I kind of I don't know, kiss their ass in a way.
I mean, yeah,
Because
you kind of have to.
Right, so I get what you mean by the utmost respect, because they don't expect that. A lot of people, when police pull them over, they come with an instant defensive attitude, and if you do that and you feel threatened already, then of course it can just escalate. Do you think there is anything I can do as a white female to stop? I'm just one person, but do you think there's anything I can personally do to stop racial discrimination?
No. I believe that it's a thing that is taught by people, and it's something that society is slowly unlearning, but it's going to take time. I believe that if we stop focusing on race so much as well, it would slowly dissipate, and you wouldn't have to worry about it anymore.
I agree. Is there anything I can do personally to stop discrimination between, I don't think it's called discrimination, but the differences between male, you personally haven't experienced any advantages because you were male, you said, but I think it's more in maybe higher class. I've heard a lot of, I haven't personally experienced, but I've heard a lot of corporate jobs. A lot of males always get those positions, and they get higher wages when they do get the position than a woman would. Is there anything you think I personally can do to help that gap?
Well, if you wanted to improve that gap, first you would have to, if you wanted to improve it yourself, you could just you probably have to work a little harder than your male counterparts to really stand out, because minorities, and no matter where you look, don't really stand out,
right?
Because they're the smaller percentage, so you'd have to really stand out. But if you wanted to help it in total, I don't think there's anything you can really do. You'd probably have to, it depends on the situation. If it's in a female-dominated space, then it'd be way easier, yes. But if it was, since in corporates, if we're just talking corporations, you probably have to enforce some type of 50-50 quota, and then probably maybe the females at that company could perform better than the males, or cause the males to stand out less.
Okay. Do you think that like, is there anything you try to do personally? Like, I know you said, I'm sorry for focusing so much on race. It's just something that it's a hard conversation to have. But that was the point of this assignment, to take me out of my comfort zone and help me to be able to understand other people's viewpoints better. But do you think there's anything do you personally do anything to stop discrimination on any front, racial or any kind of discrimination? Or is there anything you want to do?
I think there's nothing I can do besides not judge somebody. So I don't judge people based on anything other than their character. But I don't think me personally can do anything about the systematic or generational, I guess that's a good word, generational stereotyping that is done. That's just something that society has to unlearn by itself, and I don't believe focusing on it helps. Yeah.
Do you think that me and you, like, I would say we're just like normal people, but like any celebrities or influencers, like, is there any way they could use their platform to help the problem? Like, I know some people try, but do you think by focusing on it, it just makes it worse?
I think celebrities personally try their best to look good, so I don't think it comes to them genuinely. And when it is genuine, you can't really tell.
Right.
But even if it was 100% certain, I don't believe that them bringing it up helps in any way, shape, or form, simply because they're in a different class, and that means they don't have to suffer the same issues.
Right.
Because they're rich.
And that makes sense. Yeah. And also, I get your point. I've never thought about it before, but by just like steadily bringing it up like that, just draws more attention to the differences. You know, whether they're real or made up, it just draws attention to it, and then I think it just furthers a gap. Now, I think there are important conversations to have, but I think it's like between person to person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think speaking out loud about it is helping anything, because if there are those racist people, then that's just furthering their race. You know, like, if you see, for instance, there are still racist white people, and if they see big movements against racism, I think that just makes them more racist and like puts more hate in them. Like, they try harder to be racist to fight the unracist. Like, I don't know.
I believe that there's a conversation to be had, but I think that the conversation that is currently being had is the wrong one. It's not about what privileges certain races have, because all races have certain privileges over other ones. The problem is, what do we do with the racists who have those privileges? I think the conversation needs to stop being about race and more about racist.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. How to get them out of power, or how to maybe pass laws against it, maybe, possibly, like.
Well, you can't really pass laws against racism because it's an idea.
Right.
To restrict an idea is very difficult.
The act, like, I mean, I guess there's hate crimes, but like, I don't feel like it's really enforced. I don't think, like, when somebody says horrible things to somebody because of their race or sex, I don't think that they ever actually face criminal charges. I hear of hate crimes, but I don't actually ever see somebody facing a criminal charge for saying something that hurts deeply.
Well, the thing is, when somebody says something, you can't stop them from saying it, because
Right, like freedom of speech.
right. But the main reason I think that the conversation needs to be having about racist instead of race is because by just talking about race, you create more racist, and you don't necessarily anger the racist. You just make more racist, but
Right.
they don't believe they're racist
Right.
because they're like, oh, there's differences. When in reality, it's just culture.
Right.
Black people have a different culture from Mexican people, and as a mixed person, I can say that I just prefer black culture. It just appeals to me more. Uh, I do accept aspects of Mexican culture and some aspects of Asian culture and Native American culture as well, because my grandmother and my great grandmother. But I just like black culture more. And people don't like hearing that there's white culture, but there is a white culture.
Yeah, of course.
Because every race has a culture, and every social class and financial class has a culture.
I think you're the only other person that I've actually you're the only person I've ever heard audibly say that. Like, I've tried to understand like why people are racist, and like I have realized like no, there are differences. That doesn't make us bad. It's just how we're raised. Like, and it is culture, and it isn't like, let's say there's Mexican culture like you said, and there's black culture like you said, but like and white, but like if you're raised, even though I'm white, if I was raised in a different culture, I would have taken on those traits more, probably, most likely, than if I had never been exposed to white culture. So I think culture is the basis for all the stereotypes, and not your race. Like the color of your skin has nothing to do with it. I could go outside today and get the worst sunburn ever and be a completely different color, and that's not going to change me. It's our culture, and I think that is where all the stereotypes come from. And I've actually never heard any like really racist stereotypes against white people, but maybe that's because I'm white and no one says it around me. But the ones I've heard about other cultures they're just differences. Like, Mexican people eat different food than white people. Asian people eat different food. Like I've heard people talk bad about races because of their food. Like, make fun of them because they eat different food than us. Like, why is that a reason to be racist? You know, like,
the entire reason is because different, usually in the world, because the world is a very good example actually. The world has different cultures, and those cultures constantly fight and bicker with each other. The reason why I believe America and why the rest of the world looks at us differently is because we're literally the only country that allows other people to have other cultures. So like, you can have a white person celebrate African culture without even being to Africa,
right.
or have a Mexican who celebrates white culture, or vice versa. In Canada, they like separating their cultures. They have like First Nations and whatnot. While in America, you can go anywhere and celebrate. Even certain states have different culture. Arizona has a different culture and a different black culture to St. Louis's black culture.
Yeah, I think, even different cities are different. Like, if you have someone of the same age, sex, and race in one town and another town.
Yeah, and there's only in America where that is. I mean, if you go to England, you'll meet people who do different things, but they all have the same culture. Like a person from South England and a person from North England, the only difference really is their speech and slang. While in America, a person from North Dakota and a person from South Dakota are basically two different nations.
And do you think while America is supposed to, because we allowed all this and because we were the melting pot and we allowed so many cultures in, do you think that caused more racism in our country than other countries?
I would actually say no, because in places like England, they don't discuss any of their racist policies that are still implemented, while in America, we're looking at it. I believe the discussion needs to be had, but we're not having the proper discussion.
Right.
We're talking about race when it should be about racist and how to eliminate racist culture, because it's just simply a culture, and it's not a part of redneck culture. It's a whole separate entity of culture that can latch on to other cultures.
Yeah,
And
you
I
could have.
believe it's also affecting the black community, because the black community is slowly becoming racist towards each other and racist towards other cultures.
Well, I think that's all my questions. You've given me a lot of good insight, and I guess if my last question would be like, is there any one law or policy that you think could be changed to help the situation at all, or like what, like you said in London, like they don't talk about any racist policies, but here we are at least working towards change. Like, do you think there's, like, what policies would you like to see changed?
Well, I think the thing is you have to eliminate racist culture, and by doing that you have to get rid of the ignorance behind it, so you probably have to redo the entire educational system from probably the ground up, and that would probably eliminate the arrogance and ignorance of racist culture.